One of the most important things to do after creating views and parting is to define a template. First, I want to explain to you what a template is, why we need to create a template for our views, and why this is so important to us. Let me give you an example. Let's say that we are working on a project that has 20 layers. Each of these layers has a series of templates, right? For example, the first layer has a furniture plan, a floor plan, a closet plan, and the size plan, right? Now, the size plan, section plan, and etc. all are separate. But each layer has 4 or 5 templates here. So each of these layers has a series of templates, and the graphics of these templates are very, very different from each other. Or even the scale of these templates may be different. What we show in the furniture plan and what we show in the floor plan are different from each other. If they were not different, we would have created a complete plan, but we create a floor plan to specify the tiles in that plan, the size of the tiles, the starting point of our floor plan, or in other words, our starting point should be specified in each space. We have to show these. The floor plans must be completely clear. Their shape must be clear. In the size plan, we usually do not show the tiles unless we do this in empty spaces. But we do not show the floor plans and their tiles everywhere. In the furniture plan, the furniture is naturally bright. But in the size plan, again, except for empty spaces, the furniture is usually light. These are a series of graphic standards that we have to talk about later. It is possible that in each project it will be different. For example, in a project, you want to show the furniture in a low color in the size plan. But usually when we have a furniture plan in the size plan, because it's very bright and not necessary, we only show the furniture in empty spaces. So far, we have learned that each plan has its own specific graphic standard. Keep this in mind. Now, let's go back to the project that I told you has 20 levels. If, for example, in the dimension plan, I do not show the floor plan tiles, I have a specific scale for the size of the plans. Now, it depends on whether they are overall or part, as we talked about in the previous session. For the furniture to be light and the number of the other organizations I have to do for each plan. In fact, I have to do these organizations for each level. If I'm working on a very large project, you do not accept that. If I want to go one by one in each level, I have to put these organizations on the size plan. It will take a lot of time. Now, where do these organizations even come from? You probably know from VG. VG is specific to each view. We actually come to the organization from VG. If I want to do this in 20 level project, I have to come here, open the plans one by one, open the apartment plans, open the VG, and come from here to execute the organizations, right? I go to the next level again, execute these organizations, and so on. Well, it will take a lot of time. The template is exactly the same. In fact, the most important thing in template is this. You have a capability in Revit that you can execute organizations for one view and transfer them to other views. That is, those graphic organizations can be transferred to the other views you choose. This is called a template. That is, I make a template from the organizations I made for this view, and I assign that template to all the dimensional plans that I have. And as you can see, it is much faster. Now notice that it is not time consuming and the speed of your work is very high, but the errors in your plans are very low and it causes your plans to be one-handed to have similar organizations. When I assign a specific template for this view and assign the template to all its similar plans, For example, let's say this is a dimensional plan. I assign this template to all the overall dimensional plans, and I assign them to the similar plans here. I don't have to worry about the scale of the next layer here, or that if it's not refined, or if I haven't turned off the furniture, or that I haven't turned off the slides. I don't have to check because I gave it a template and I assigned all of these to that template. So one of the most important things you have to do is to assign a template. Now, I have a topic for you here. You may ask, why am I assigning a template so soon? I haven't even started drawing it yet. It is not clear yet what I'm going to turn off, what I'm going to turn on. Nothing is clear here. Why am I assigning a template? One of the things we usually do at the beginning of a project is that at the stage of the project is assigning a template. That is, the person who's in charge of the project or the project manager, while the students are working, he or she is doing a few things. One of them is, for example, handling the view, partitioning the views, defining the template. What am I doing? I say, okay, I still don't know. What am I going to turn off in this plan? What am I going to change? Maybe the color. What am I going to reduce? What am I going to do like transparent? What am I going to make? I don't know these things, but I know that these are my dimension plans, which are now my overall plans. We talked about it in the last lesson, and these plans must have similar graphic arrangements. Now, I'm going to create a template for my overall dimension plans, and I will assign these to all of them after we have moved forward and we have completed the plan and we realized that we have to turn off a few things. We have to change the color of a few things. Maybe we have to delete something or other things. I go to the template and I do this. And for this view, all of the views that I have, that the template have, will be deleted. So did you understand? So the template is something important in the project. This is what I told you. That's for every series of templates. You have to have a custom template. For all my overall dimension plans, I have a custom template. For my parts dimension plans, I have also a custom template here because the scale of these two is different. The scale of the part of the dimension plans is different from the overall dimension plans, but the main difference here is in their scales, right? So these two have different templates. I want to say that you can come and describe the template in detail. Parts the dimension plans, the overall dimension plans, the furniture plans, the flooring plans, the ceiling plans, the new dimension plans, overall dimension plans, the floor plans. There are the service plans or elevator plans that these can have different templates, but we don't have any limitation in describing templates in a project. But be careful, do not make it too many different templates here. As far as you can, try to have fewer templates so that the plan follows a specific template so that you don't have to go into a specific template and turn it off. And then go into another template and turn the other things off. I mean, for example, if you have a series of big plans, maybe the template of those big plans can be the same. For example, a big service plan, a big elevator plan, a big floor plan. Maybe you can describe a template for each of those big plans as enlarge and assign that template to each of those sets. But know if you see that there are numbers of better templates in this place, you can separate them. But as far as you can take the spaces forward with one template, now we have realized that what exactly a template is an important topic that I mentioned, and I will repeat again. It is why we should never see the template at the end of the project. Many people make this mistake, for example, when they want to update the project or a few days before to the submit. They come up and say, let me describe a template for them. No, you should not do that. Before you start your plan, you must have created this template. That means each of your views must have a template and you have to create it. Why do I say this? Well, for example, I go to view or I open this elevation and I start working on it. And here, as you can see, when I'm working on it, it doesn't have even a template. I will start working on it. I give it a tag. I give it a number. I give it a dimension. I give it a height and so on. I do all of these things. Now, this is a phase 2 view, okay? After that, if I want to update it, I say, let me create a template for the rest of them so that they can have the same organizations. Once you see the template, you see that it brings together all of your views. For example, I don't know, you come here and you see that for clipping it, there was no clip, but in your template, it should be something else. You see, these organizations bring together all of your views. For example, you were not aware that your scale was 1 to 100, with your scale was supposed to be 1 to 50, or in overall, it was supposed to be 1 to 200, but you were not aware of it. You come here, you define a template for it, or you see that all of the text are big, you can make them one by one. For this, before you start drawing your views, you must have a template. That is when the modeling phase of this project is completed and we start drawing. The views must have a template. This is the first point. The second point is that when I come here, define a template for this view, whoever works in this view, if he's supposed to change something, he's not allowed to touch the template. For example, he's working and he sees that these things are in front of something and he wants to make it a little more empty. He turns them off. For example, he turns off the railing from the template. This is a very wrong thing to do. You should not turn it off. Anything from the template, you should use a method that I prefer that does not change the template, or if you want to change something in the template, you must coordinate with your project manager. Because that template is something that changes all of the views, all of that template, and it will be possible that a very bad thing can happen in the project. And in fact, it would be useful for them again. So far, we have learned that all our views should have a template so that the speed of our work can be given to this view in the future. And then, if we want to change something for the views that are similar to each other, let's change their template. In the next video, we will learn how to make this template together.